Hello and welcome to Anatomy of Sex. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
What's up, guys? My name is Seth Studley. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. Today, you do not want to miss the conversation. Tell them why, Mel.
We are talking with intimacy, relationship, and dating expert Allana Pratt about sexual energy. And you guys, it is the most amazing conversation. You're going to love it. 2 bits and pieces. So let's dive right in.
Let's go.
We are so glad to have you back on our show. You have the best energy ever. So why don't you tell people who you are if they didn't hear previous episodes and give us a little bio?
Thank you, love. So Allana Pratt, intimacy expert. Really what I'm about is people that have suffered heartbreak, whether they're in a relationship or outside of a relationship. How do we heal that so you can be your most unapologetic self and totally at peace with yourself on the inside, the wobbly and the magnificent, so you're just free? And of course, that makes for a lot of fun in the bedroom, but it also makes us better as parents, makes us better with relationships with our body, even intimacy with money. Like, is money your best friend, or is like, where have you been lately? Right. So there's this idea of intimacy really spans your entire existence. And so I like to start at the core, our core fundamental relationship with ourselves.
I love that. That gives me a question like right out of the gate. What do you think blocks most people from leaning into and fully kind of embracing intimacy?
Yeah, well, they, like me for several decades, you go inside and you have this feeling of sadness, shame, fear, anger, and you're like, hell no. And you hit your little you with a 2x4 and shove them in the closet. And you stuff away truth. You stuff away the opportunity for compassion, empathy. You stuff away the ability to take, something where you felt powerless into powerful. Or ashamed into free self-expression, or betrayed into forgiveness. All of our growth comes from leaning in, feeling, face it to feel it, integrate it, and now we're better. We can't get rid of all this energy, although we think we can. A little bit more time on Facebook, another glass of wine, and whatever. It doesn't work.
Right.
And what you resist persists, and it grows worse over time until clients come to me and their marriage is on the brink, or they've had 100 first dates, or they can't orgasm and they fake it, or like whatever the reason is. And it's all the same core reason, is that we haven't been taught that our wobbly parts are just as lovable as our triumphant parts. Nobody teaches us that. That's wrong and this is right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm
beautiful.
about unconditional love of all of ourselves.
So if you could tell us, and I don't think we talked about this on the first time we hung out.
Yeah.
What was, I don't want to say the tipping point, but where was that like big change for you? Or sometimes for clients, it's not a huge big change. It's like incremental.
He's just trying to ask, how'd you get so cool?
Yeah. Give us
So I'll give you 2 different stories. The first is a sexier one, and the second is a more vulnerable. Well, they're both kind of vulnerable, but whatever. The second is more vulnerable in my journey. So I'm 51. Back when I was 19, I hopped on Uncle Phil's 18-wheeler semi from Canada down to LA to be a dancer. I'd been a dancer since I was like 5 years old. And so I was good enough, but I didn't have the working visa to stay in America. So off I went to Tokyo, and I became this showgirl and a model and a spokesperson and all these things. And yet, every time I would get on the stage and dance or model or whatever it was, I was so concerned. I was comparing myself to other women. I felt, even though at the time, if I had loved my body back then, it'd be amazing. Because right now I got stretch marks and like all this other stuff. But back then I was hot, but I didn't think so. Right? I was so insecure. And so I remember going to Koh Phangan for a full moon party in Thailand. And I didn't have any fun because I was so concerned about being good enough, pretty enough, all of it. And so the very next morning on my side of the island, I said, okay, I'm going to have a breakthrough. And so all I put on was my little floss G-string. That was it. And I said, I'm walking up and down this beach until I love my body, until I'm no longer concerned about what other people think about my body. And it took the whole friggin' day. It took the whole day. And I walked back and forth, and no plant medicine, no drugs, nothing. It was just me, my heart, the ocean, and the beach. And I just processed, oh, what do they think? Oh, they're sexier than me. Or like just head, until I slowly dropped down into my heart, which hurt, until I slowly dropped down. And I remember the very last time, back and forth. I turned towards the sunset at this point, and something happened, and I'm going to call it a direct experience with God, with our true nature, because the sand fell out from beneath. The little pieces of water from the waves of the ocean just danced. Every person I looked at looked like a bodhisattva or a Buddha, no judgment whatsoever. And I just felt like I was floating. I felt home in my body for the first time. And it gave me the first insight that, oh, there must be something called spiritual growth or, awareness or something. There's something to this. And I learned, okay, my point of view creates my reality. How I speak to myself and how I speak to the divine and how I speak to my body creates a reality. Okay, let's focus on this. So, fast forward all these years later, so that was like my early 20s. My early 40s, I had a baby when I was 33, got right into the divorce by 34. My mom had just died of cancer. And I thought, a man is a plan and a baby's a plan. And I didn't want to feel. So I just married someone and I made not a good choice. And he was quite humiliated that I left the marriage so quickly and decided that the only way to get revenge was to take our child away from me. It was a 12-year custody battle. And in the end, I gave in because our son was just devastated. And I had lost my house, my savings. I was in $250,000 of legal debt and my life was hell. And even though I had physical and legal custody, I'm like, take him, he's yours. I will see him from time to time. And I went out to this cabin in the middle of nowhere to have a controlled nervous breakdown. And I wrote this list out of like, here I am, this relationship intimacy expert, and yet I'm so fucked up. People are going to like unblock me on Facebook or block me on Facebook or whatever. I wrote the whole list of like, maybe my son will never want to speak to me again. Maybe I was single at the time. Maybe no one will ever love me. Maybe I'll never get out of debt, like the whole list. And then I went through the whole list again. I'm sitting on this, it's like an A-frame. And there was nature in all directions. It's just me and Mother Gaia. And I went down, and at the end of every sentence, I said, and I love and accept myself. And I love and accept myself. And I declared, yes, you're a hot mess. And I love and accept myself. And I did it over and over and over for days and days and days until I had another one of those direct experiences where the bottom fell out and I was one with everything. And I thought, okay, I think I touched on unconditional love. I think I'm onto something here. And while I prefer to make a difference, meet a great guy, make a bunch of money, make a huge impact on the planet, have great sex, do the whole thing, if I don't, and they kick dirt in my face and none of that happens, I love and accept myself. And that is a gift we can give ourselves. So those are two kind of different stories of a path home to lean in and face that which is challenging you, because on the other side of it is love, home, God, the divine.
Right. I love that. And it's so interesting because as you were speaking, like in the very intro, we sort of asked you to do a little bio, and the way you explained it was like, this is the only way that I can think of explaining it back, is that you did not separate the body and intimacy from the rest of life, which so many people do. I mean, everything is like, it's almost like, it's going to sound real weird, but it's almost like all the marriage experts are like, and you have no genitals, like do all these things, but no genitals included. Sex is like a side note and body is not really part of it. And so I love that even in your bio, the way you said who you were and what you do really is like biopsychosocial, spiritual, sexual, like it has all the things mixed in.
Yeah, group hug right now. Love you, love you.
I know.
So sex is sacred.
Yeah.
Sexual energy is life force energy. It's our vitality. It's our youthfulness. It's our pleasure. It's our aliveness. It's our creativity. It's everything. And it's sexy and it's delicious and it's your birthright. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Man, there's so many ways that I want to go. I don't want to get too off topic to what we're even supposed to be talking about here. Right. But I want to go back to the story when you're on the beach in Thailand, right?
Of course you do.
Most people are going to hear that and go, what? That's crazy. But you were brave enough to do that. And this sounds weird, but like, well, not weird. I don't care. I don't like wearing clothes that often, right? And it's just boring, and clothes are boring. But there's been times when I've been out in the woods. I am in nature all the time and stuff, and I love cold water. And I go find a really secluded place and just get completely naked and just get in the water and just sit there, walk around, do whatever. And it's like one of the best things ever. And I don't even care if people go, okay, Seth is just super weird or whatever, but it's like one of the lowest stress, most kind of free times ever, like just
like grounding.
And like, think about it. I mean, if also look to biology and animals for a lot of wisdom, right? It's like, well, we're just mammals. Other mammals don't have clothes on. They're jumping out of, well, they're probably not jumping out of trees into rivers like I like to do, or jumping off rocks and stuff like that. But it is so free. So how I don't know how committed you were to be like, all right, all I'm wearing is this little piece of floss, and I'm going to walk up and down the beach with intention, right?
Yes.
With a very intentional mind. You weren't trying to do, whatever, except for find yourself, find that peace, find that thing for you, which is crazy, which is awesome.
Oh, thank you. I love that you jump naked out of trees. This is so great.
When I can, it's not that often, but
Right.
But here's the also cool part about science. The brain doesn't know the difference. You can, as a viewer or listener right now, you can literally take yourself on that beach in Copenhagen. You can literally jump out of that tree naked. You can visualize doing yoga naked to the most beautiful sunrise ever, like in a gorgeous temple of sacredness. Like, you get to choose. The brain doesn't know the difference. You want to know the image, the thought, the emotion, and body sensation, all 4 elements. That's what creates this new capacity over and over and over as you allow whatever shame or taboo or insecurity or fear, whatever arise. Lean in, breathe, grab that little you who needs a hug and say, it's okay, we deserve this. And you can actually do these visuals yourself. You don't have to go to Thailand. You don't have to jump out of a tree. You just have to choose, as you beautifully said, with sacred intention, that I choose to welcome my body, my sacred sexuality, my aliveness to the whole picture of life and be free.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I think we practice visualization with our coaching clients all the time. It's one of the most powerful tools out there in terms of like creating the thing that you want to experience. And I love what you said. Like, you don't even have to actually go to Thailand. You can just like feel it and be it in your body. But that makes me think of right out of the gate, some of the things that people stop themselves from doing when it comes to intimacy and sexuality in their marriage because of these sort of external boundaries or borders or whatever they want to call them, or whatever it is, and how we can use visualization in a really healthy way to sort of guide our sexual intimacy toward what we desire that is healthy and balanced and loving and sacred in our marriage. So I would love to just sort of riff on that for a little bit and talk about why, like in our emails before, we mentioned like, why do people not do the things that they want to do, and they sort of settle for this smaller version of sexuality and all of that? So like, let's unpack that and help people have freer, more fulfilling sexual lives. And let's debunk the myth that right out of the gate, that means like pervy things. Because I think so many people, especially if you grew up in the church at all, they feel like there's good sex, which is super boring and vanilla and like, I don't know, milquetoast. What's even milquetoast? Sounds boring. But it's like that. Or there's like what the sinners do. So I want to like sort of piece apart that. What are your thoughts on just that as a concept, I guess?
Yeah. Well, first thing I would say is beliefs aren't real or true. We just make them up.
Love it.
Just make them up. Okay. So you can make up whatever belief you want. So that's just one thing to say. Another thing is, I personally refuse to live a life based on another person telling me what to do. I'm a little stubborn that way. I want to find out what's true for me. So my encouragement is, yes, you've been raised by a church or parents or what have you, and that's everybody else's point of view. Thank you for sharing your point of view. I will take what works for me. I will let go of what doesn't work for me. And I will take my time in my, remember that like A-frame cabin in the middle of nowhere? Again, go into your little meditation, go into your sacred temple, in your sacred yoni or your sacred genitals, and just sit there and get to know you. Because everything is energy. When you let go of the mind and you drop first into coherence in the heart, this is also more, I'm a really science geek. Like if it doesn't align with science, then it's just woo-woo, okay? So when we're coherent in our heart, the best of our brain turns on and the best of our intuition turns on, and we become coherent on the same frequency as God, the divine, the field, and Mother Gaia. So it's all a vibration. Everything's a vibration. So when we get ourselves first into coherence with our heart, you're going to have a much better experience coming into your sacred yoni and really discovering what's true for you. You can't discover what's true from you when you're full of shame, full of taboo, full of blaming another, full of remembering how you were rejected, or when your mom walked in and you were jacking off, whatever it was. Okay. Like, so we got to still have to do the work to integrate and process those very valid wounds. You cannot create on top of an emotional trigger. That's just 10 more affirmations of BS. Doesn't work. Okay. So do the work with people like you or me to integrate the wounds in the first place. Next, coherence to get us into this happy place. Coherence is a vibration of appreciation and gratitude. Sometimes it's hard to be appreciative of your stretch marks or your penis not working the same as it used to, Or, we have no time because we have all these kids and we have to have sex in the closet, in the garage, or whatever. Like, so sometimes it's hard to be appreciative, but compassion gets you there too. Compassion and empathy will get you there too. So to get into your heart, either appreciate and be grateful for what you've got, or have compassion and empathy for yourself. Either way, it'll raise your coherence. Then you're actually vibing as your true self, and you can hear your true self. Now, it might take bravery to know what really turns you on, and to really allow that voice, that energy, that vision, that desire, that sacred desire to arise. But spend time getting coherent and listening. And you might want to have a journal. You might like to be out in nature like Seth, wherever it's safe for you to start listening. My true, authentic, and I love the word sacred sex, put them together. Like if you're not going to name it sacred, it isn't. Okay, so call it sacred. My authentic, sacred, sexual self desires, just let your hand go. Maybe even let your left hand go if you're a right-hander. So more of your subconscious talks. It's going to be kind of chicken scratch, but
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Subconscious, to let your authentic self express yourself. I often in coaching sessions say, zip it. Let me talk to your penis. Let me talk to your vagina. Like, I swear I do. I have wonderful conversations.
Hello.
Calling all penises. Everything penis. No, seriously, your body talks. Your body knows what feels honoring and what doesn't, what turns it on and what doesn't, what brings it pleasure and what doesn't. And it's not the same every day, and it's not the same every decade. So let go of conclusions and assumptions that you think you know. Be a beginner, be curious, and start to talk to your body, your intuition, about what it desires. And then once you're clear about who you are, then you have, date night, and you get to have these conversations, and they're called dyads. And the only thing about a dyad is that you ask a question, and the answerer, or you ask a question, person answers, and then all you say is thank you, which doesn't even mean I agree. You might even think your partner's batshit crazy, but you just say, thank you. And you go back and forth, back and forth. Tell me something about you and what's true about sacred sex. Just start there. And then next date night, tell me something that's true for you and oral sex. Tell me something that's true for you and sexual fantasies. Tell me something you're afraid to tell me. Tell me something that turns you on. Tell me a way you like to be loved. Tell me a way you like to be touched. Like these questions, every single date night you can bring in and get, but you can't speak it to them if you don't know what's true for you in the first place. Right. So it always starts with intimacy with self, then the bravery of this sacred communication with your partner, where all you say is thank you. So there's no, but you never, and last time, like zip it, like no fights. Okay. It's just sacred. And then don't use it as ammunition later. Use it as inspiration later. Oh, they said they like this. And then you try this. And then the bedroom gets spicier, gets more meaningful and connected, gets freer and more unapologetic. And if you cry, wonderful. If you're feisty, wonderful. Like everything goes. Because it's a safe, sacred communion.
That's awesome. Like I was listening to you talk, and I'm like, yes, more, right? And basically, I could say this to folks who are like new to this, like, what are they even talking about? It's crazy. I could ask them, okay, think about the best sexual experience you've ever had. Now multiply that times 1,000. All you have to do is be open and vulnerable to asking questions like this. Would you want to do that? Nah, I'm okay with just like whatever sex. And a lot of people, that's their answer. But for us, I'm like, no, we want more. Just like anything else we want, we want more because there is that potential there. So I'd be like, if people are like, okay, what is a yoni or this or that, which is a vagina,
That's
basically.
A vagina.
Yeah.
Right. What are they talking about?
You lost me at yoni.
Right. What are they talking about? It's like, be open. This isn't crazy. It's like you said, it's your birthright to actual, and a lot of our clients have breakthroughs and stuff like that. And then they get on this different level of like, I didn't know marriage or relationships or like just being could be this awesome.
Right?
I want more. But it takes courage. It takes vulnerability.
Yes.
And it also takes work.
Right.
And if you're willing to do the work, you can get there.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you commented on, you said something along the lines of, we always want more. And I want to clarify that, because more is, I think, sometimes where people go, oh, more sex, weirder sex, do sex on the ceiling or something. Like they think more just in quantity.
Anti-gravity sex?
Anti-gravity, space sex. But they think it just means like quantity more. But that is not what Seth is meaning. He's meaning quality more. Right. And I think that, like I think we had a really big shift when I just was tired of bad sex. And not that we never really had bad sex, but I was tired of sex that was not very fulfilling, spiritual. It wasn't feeding any need that I had. Like I could have the sort of the physical side, make that work and get the juices flowing. But if it did not hit these other biopsychosocial spiritual markers, I was not interested in at all interested in it. And so I think that we had a big shift in our sex life when I declared, like, I'm not going to have bad sex anymore. Like, sorry, not going to do it. And so I showed up for myself differently. And I will sort of mirror back what you're saying. I did not go on a beach in a G-string. That wasn't my vibe. But I started
But if you want to do that, we can take a walk. That's cool.
we got a park down here. But so I had that same sort of experience where I just began to go really spiritually inward. And like you said, like had a conversation with my body and just, what do you want? What do you actually want? I'm sick of people telling me what they want. I'm sick of him telling me what he wants. What do you want? And that was actually around the time when I realized that, I'm sure you've heard that term, what is it, sapiosexual, that the idea of like educate, what is the word? Like thinking being a turn on. And I realized I'm like, oh, that actually is something that I experience, whether it's true or not, or I don't even care. But that is something that I have attached sexuality to deep thinking and conversations. And so that helped him understand why talking matters so much to me.
Yes,
so like
thank you.
you can use this mouth you've got and this brain you've got to get the yoni flowing, if you know what I'm saying.
Okay.
Start talking to my yoni, would you?
Hello.
Were you going to say something?
Well, I was going to say, speaking of, okay, I can use my mouth. One of the things that we wanted to talk about too was oral sex, right? And what do you guys think? And you're excluded because you're the pro here, Allana. But I'm wondering, what do you think of oral sex? Do you just think of like blowjobs, or is it you think of like guy to woman oral sex?
I think in the past
what
that's what I
think?
would have thought. Like initially, years ago, I would have probably thought that. But I think it's lovely.
Yeah, I know you think it's lovely, but I want to pose a question.
You have
to
something
listeners.
you want to say. You're trying to get us to say what you want to say. What do you want to say?
No, I'm not. I'm just like,
yeah, you are. You're trying to say
what do you guys
something.
think when you say oral sex? Because me, how I was acculturated in pop culture is like, oh, that's a blowjob. That's what that is.
I don't think that.
Right? Okay. What do women think about it?
I think it's both directions. When I hear oral sex, it's like everything's always a figure eight. Both directions. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Whether it's a heterosexual, homosexual, whatever, non-binary couple, it doesn't matter. It's the parts having the kisses on the part and the lips on the part. That's
You made
what it
oral
is.
sex sound like so sweet and cute. It's kissing on the parts.
Well, it is.
I know,
right?
but it was like adorable how she said it was adorable.
Kisses on the parts.
But I want to get to the question below what you're asking, because both she and I are just like, yeah, what? But you obviously have got something in there that you want to express. What is the thing?
No,
you aren't telling us.
I don't think that I have a thing below the thing, other than through I guess acculturation or media or stuff like that. It's like how most pornography is like for the guys, right? It's mostly consumed by guys. And I think most listeners go, oral sex, oh, I'm not giving that a blowjob or something. That may be their first inclination, but I want to say oral sex is not just that. It is so much more.
Right. I want to maybe zoom out. Maybe the porn that you have seen is for guys, but I don't think it's that way necessarily. I think it's all exists, but what you've seen is a sliver of it, because that's what you've looked for.
That's a good question. Maybe there is a thing, a little other thing, but I'm not thinking of anything right now, I guess. That was so...
I remember getting gifts from clients of porn that one of my clients actually developed, that it was a female for women. So to instead of, you can't stop porn, but can we put in the energy of honor and sacredness into it and have more conscious sex and be turned on by, both partners in rapture, where one doesn't know where their edges end and the others begin, as opposed to, I think what you're referring to, Seth, the wham bam, thank you, man, just very traditional.
Right.
And I do think when I was young, like just becoming sexual, oral sex definitely meant blowjobs. I didn't understand. I even had a clitoris. Like, I swear I didn't even get it until I was in Japan, the whole dance contract thing. And I just had this boyfriend. But when we sat in this one chair, this really cool thing happened. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, nobody told me shit. Like, my mom, I remember we had the conversation. I thought I was in trouble going out for dinner just with her one night. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? And she drank a whole glass of wine in one gulp. And then she turned the glass of wine upside down and she said, "This is your vagina." And I'm like, oh! And she said, basically, I would get a period and don't let a penis go into it. And that was the end of the conversation. And I'm like, okay, well, that was not very helpful. But I didn't even know. Like, I didn't even know. They don't talk about the clitoris in like the little class when you learn about the bodies. because this beautiful organ that's only made for the pleasure. Let's definitely about that.
Yes.
Let's just shame everything else. And so there I was with my dancers in this show in Japan, and they refused to speak English to me. So I had to learn French, which I kind of learned growing up in Canada anyways, but they'd be talking, clitoris, talking. And I'm like, you guys are talking about the clitoris. I know it. What are you talking about? And they taught me something very important, which may be supportive to the viewers or listeners. When you are desired by your partner and you're not in the mood, or you're tired, or what have you done for me lately, and you didn't take out the garbage, and you said, receiving that sexual desire, we often just say it just hits at the genitals, and it doesn't hit at the heart, and we don't feel safe or seen. But what I learned when I was dancing in Japan with these French girls, because all the guys on their side of the stage, it was in Japan, right? So they would all do like the bow thing to them on their side of the stage, but all the guys on my side of the stage were like, hey, tall glass of water. And I felt so icky and slimy. And I'm like, what's your secret? And they basically taught me the Tibetan practice of Tonglen that the monks do. But they did it as French sexy dancers. They would receive in this one-dimensional energy of just cock energy, let's say, from them, and they would bring it into their body, and they would ignite it. Yes, I thank you for noticing. I am sexy. And they would bring it into their heart because I'm a goddess. And then they would send it out their eyes. Thank you for noticing. And then the result of that transformation of man's attention, like this, the men would like straighten up. And I'm like, okay, I got to try. And so that's what I would do. And then everybody on my side of the stage would like bow to me. And so that was like fun when I was 20. But then fast forward when I became married and I wasn't like, I was tired or whatever, if I could receive the energy, and then I could go, you know what? He desires me if he's a good man, right? Okay, we're just going to assume we've got good, conscious, lovely people on the show, because he desires to love me. He desires to put his seed of his soul into my body. He desires to open me up to the ends of the universe. But we have to choose. And it's hard when you're tired. But to choose that sexual attraction energy in through your sacred yoni, pussy, vagina, okay? Bring it up to your heart and go, yeah, I am worthy of being adored, claimed, ravished. I am a goddess. And then you exhale it out with your eyes. And then you ask for what you need. I need 10 minutes to shave my legs. I really could just use touch for 5 minutes. No nipples, no yoni. I just need you to tell me why you love me. And you can use your voice in an inviting, alluring way rather than shut it down, put it out, get it over with, as I think about the grocery list, right? Because we don't know what to do with this energy that's not aligning where we are, and it's often a mismatch. So that's a little secret.
I love that, because that is sort of the space that I got to when I was deciding that I wasn't going to have bad sex. I would use yoga as a way to literally transfer, because I knew that Seth loved me, right? I knew it. It's evidence in my life. He does, pays the bills, does these things. He's a great father, all this stuff. But it wasn't, but I was tired. Basically, that's it. I was so tired of just like getting up all the time and kids and blah, blah, blah. And so I would take that space, that time to make myself present to myself and draw that energy. I love how you're saying like the energy changes once you change how you receive that energy and what you do with that energy. And I made a very conscious choice. And I love how you said conscious sexuality or something like intimacy. I can't remember what you said, but I loved it. It was cool. But I was like actively taking that energy, and I imagine it like swirling clouds, like pink glittery clouds, and I'll move it inside of my body where it needs to go. And that's all just in my mind. It's just a mind change, because in the past I would have been like, oh, I don't want to have sex with this, so blah or whatever. Or just going to think about the grocery list while you get this task done, and I'll hate every second of it. But now I'm like, no, I don't want to have bad sex. And if I'm tired, I can still have great sex. And it's all about how I show up and what I do with that energy. So
this is good.
I
wanted to say something too. Are you going to forget what you're going to ask me? Can you just hold it for one second?
No. Yeah.
I also wanted to be verbal with the viewers and listeners. I was afraid, and I'm still dealing with this like 2-day integrating my own wounds. My very, very, very first boyfriend ever cheated on me. And I made it mean that if I don't put out, they're going to cheat on me. And so I still, to this day, have sex when I don't want to for fear of him straying. And that's my wound. To do my inner work, to be at choice, to say, I'm too tired. Could you just hold me? Or to do what I just said with that energy, take it in through my heart and invite what I desire. So I just want people to know that, yeah, I'm a pro and this is my business, but I'm not perfect and I'm still a work in progress. And I still work on these wounds myself.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank
That
you.
is
Yeah.
vulnerable and
leading with vulnerability
Yeah.
paves the way for other people to explore whatever wounds and stuff they have. Right.
Yeah, and their
That's one of the
healing and
caveats
growth.
on the show. Is like, I'm a marriage and family therapist. It's a marriage and sex and family show, but we still got stuff going on
Right,
too.
all the time.
So,
So this is what I was going to say.
Bit.
We're going to
Yeah.
continue this conversation over at Patreon, and you're going to tell me what those French ladies told you about the clitoris.
And about oral sex,
Right.
both ways, right?
Right.
Yes. We have lots of juicy things to share.
Yes. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today. And seriously, guys, if you want to hear the rest, go over to Patreon, and we'll see you later. All right. Bye. Okay, guys. Like we said, we're continuing this conversation over on Patreon.
Hold on.
So
Did
go-
you guys enjoy that?
Of course they enjoyed
Did
it.
you
And they
find the
want to hear
energy of
more.
it, the sexual energy, the realness of it? Yeah, you did. So if you want more, part 2 again, go to patreon.com/anatomy of marriage, where we talk about even more stuff.
Yeah, in that episode, we are talking about sacred sex. You are not going to miss how that pans out.
Can I say BJ's?
Good Lord.
That's what we talked about. Go
Enjoy
find it over there.
All right, see you later.
All right.
Bye.